So it all started with a bike. I moved to Kansas City. I'm an outdoorsy girl. I like to do things outside. I needed something to do, and that happened to be riding my bike. And I just started putting in the miles and realizing this hidden potential within myself that I never knew was there. I've always been a creative person and an artist, but I've never ever considered myself an athlete. But the bike brought me there. It built up my self-esteem in amazing ways and just made me feel like a superhero. So it went from having a bike and riding a bike to wanting to understand the bike. Okay, my brakes are rubbing. What do I do? So I came here to Velo Plus, and they're super kind, wonderful, generous people, and they started teaching me how to fix my bike and how bikes are put together and how the components are all working to make this magical machine happen. It just was a natural transition to go from wrenching to frame building, actually cutting tubes and welding and creating my own bicycle from the ground up. So I got a BFA from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, and I went there initially to study fashion, moved away from that, and then did fiber and material studies, sound art, art and tech. After school I explored printmaking, painting, drawing, any kind of fine art process that you can imagine, and it just never grabbed me. I was never able to stay engaged or stay proud of what I was doing. So the really exciting thing about frame building is that I get to be creative, I get to make things, but it's within a really strict set of parameters. And at the end, whether what I make is beautiful or not, it's functional. And I think that was the missing piece for me. So I kind of consider each frame a conceptual piece in its own. So this is coming from my art. I started to realize, oh, okay, this is what I need to do to stay excited about my work. We're doing 4 basic body measurements: your foot, your inseam, your torso, and your arm length. And that'll give us a pretty good idea about what size frame you need.
Okay.
So this is the inseam device, and it's just a spring-loaded thing. So you have to kind of apply pressure and then stand over it and gently release it, and we'll go up to where it goes, and it's just sort of simulating. So we spent a lot of time talking about their goals on the bike, their riding style. What do you want to accomplish? Are you gonna get after it hard on the crit scene? Are you looking to do endurance rides? Are you looking to do bike packing? Do you just want something that you enjoy to ride around town and do little casual rides on? All of that factors into the design. It's hard to make a bike that does everything, and I think with custom builds, you have the opportunity to get really precise about what the intended use is. So we definitely talk about all of that. I have this really nifty thing called a Fit Master, which is a sizing cycle really, where I can set up all my geometry right there and change anything I want, have the person get on it, ride it, and then fine-tune based off of their feedback. So we can really make sure that the person has a bike that's sized correctly for them and that will be able to fit them when it's all put together. So after that, I'll take measurements off the Fit Master and start my design process, just figuring out all the variables: bottom bracket drop, chainstay length, head tube angle, seat tube angle, effective top tube length, start playing with all those variables and make everything work. So it's kind of like a game of compromises. Nothing's ever going to be perfect, but we try to play with all the variables to get where we're going in the best way possible. Then once I have that set, I can transfer all of that information to my jig and start cutting and mitering tubes. So once I get all the tubes mitered, then we go through a process of tacking and aligning. So you tack Let's say we'll start with the bottom bracket to the seat tube. So you tack that, and then I put it on my alignment table, and I make sure that seat tube is perfectly parallel with the surface of my alignment table. And so you do this as you go through the bike, and it's kind of a long process, but this way I ensure that everything is aligned properly, and that the head tube and the seat tube are along that same center line, and nothing is going to be tracking funny, because that could cause problems later on down the line. So after that's done, then I do fully braze all the joints, and then do more aligning. Then we start to adjust the rear triangle. There's room for cranks, chain rings, tires, everything that's in the design. Get those on the bike, and then the seat stays come next. And then the final little thing is all the tiny braze-ons and bits and bobs and little details, bridges and that kind of thing. And then it's done.
I just want a rad dirt shredder that I can love for many years to come.
She's never really had a frame that fits her. And so we're kind of thinking that this bike is going to be a big deal in terms of her just being able to shred all that harder and go that much faster. And that's what's exciting to me is the possibility of taking someone's experience and elevating it.
I believe that art is a process. I try to live in an artful way. I don't produce anything that seems to look like art. It's not what you made, but the journey. The way that Julie is working with her jig to customize it for my frame. You know, she's done some of her own tooling and machining to make the jig work for me, and I love that.
My whole philosophy about why I want to do these custom bikes is we spend so much time on the bikes. And yes, they're a tool, yes, they're utilitarian, but there's no reason why they can't express something deeper about ourselves, or there's no reason why we can't have a more personal connection with that thing. Boom! That's the third high five of the day.
All right.